Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Good evening. How is everyone this evening? I got to get to a place that is kind of fuzzy, my video. And my video is kind of fuzzy. Sorry, you guys. I just want to try to get a good picture here, but of my video. So let's see if I can do something better then, because my video is kind of fuzzy. How about that? Kind of clear? Okay, let's do some talking here really quick. Let's do some talking really quick. Hey, I decided to come on this evening and share a story with you all. Say what? We're not biased, as you can see the title, but we understand that not all genders tell the truth. Not all genders tell the truth. And so I wanted to talk about this quickly, about this former member of the Total group. And this was a member of the Total group back in the 90s. This was an R&B group, and her name is Pam Long, and she was a former Total member. And I'm looking at this article from the Shade Room. Now, I'm not really, this is the article from the Shade Room. And so I'm going to say allegedly, just to be on the safe side. But this is an article from the Shade Room. And what she's saying is she lied about her husband sexually abusing her when they were married. So I'm going to read this article, and it says, roommates. Last year, we reported that Pam Long from the 90s R&B group Total posted an explosive video accusing her ex-husband, Jamie Long, who is now married to Centoya Brown Long, of sexually abusing her during their marriage. Well, fast forward. Over a year later, and Pam has just admitted that she lied about everything and asked Jamie and Centoya for forgiveness. Pam Long posted a surprising video to social media completely admitting that her claims about Jamie Long sexually assaulting her while they were married were fabricated. However, she stopped short of explaining exactly why she made up the accusations in the first place. And she says right here, I come before you today with deep regrets concerning a statement that I'm about to make. On October 20th, 2019, for my show Pam's World, I made a comment about my ex-husband, Jamie Long. And that comment was that he forces himself on women. And right after that, I said, do you remember that night? Basically, I was telling the world that my ex-husband forced himself on me sexually, and that was a lie. Jamie, I'm sorry for what it is that I have said about you. I'm sorry for the shame that I have brought to your name, to your family, to you, your wife, your mom, your sister, and those who love you. Also to my family, my church family, to my friends, to those who love me, who had no idea that this was a lie that I said concerning Jamie. I ask that you forgive me as well. Jamie, I'm sorry, and I know sorry does not make up for what I have said, but I ask that you will find it in your heart to forgive me for what I have done to you and your family. However, she wasn't done and also added more to her apology via her caption on the video, writing, this is Pamela Long, formerly of Total. On October 22nd, 2019, you released on your show a statement that I made from my show Pam's World concerning my ex-husband, Jamie Long. On the show, I made a comment about how he forces himself on women, and then I said, do you remember that night? Today I regretfully recant that comment because it was a lie. Jamie did not force himself on me sexually. I am sorry for the pain, stress, and embarrassment that I caused Jamie and his family in any way. I know that sorry does not, nor can it make things better for what I have said, but I deeply apologize to the Long family. I also would like to apologize to my family, my church family, friends, those who look up to me, and people on social media for the lie that I've told. As of right now, Jamie Long nor Centoya Brown Long have publicly responded to Pam Long's apology video. Now, and what I want to say about this is that we see this a lot happening where these women have made these comments. Now, this is allegedly, because this is the first time that I've ever heard or seen an article with Pam Long from the former band Total coming out saying that her husband sexually assaulted her during their marriage. Then she's coming out now, and this is allegedly, but this is from the Shade Room, that she is now saying that she lied about the statement that she made, that she lied about it, and now she's coming forward to apologize. But what I would like to say on this is that we do see a lot of this going on today where women, and not all women, but there's a lot of women coming out now saying that they lied, that they weren't truthful. They said something in the past about someone, another man, and mainly a Black man. I'm speaking about Black people right now, Black men. And now coming back now and saying, I lied. How many women do we know right now that we've heard of that have said that a man did something to them, and they coming out now later saying, I lied about it, that that's not true, it didn't happen. And I want to say eventually, a lot more women, I will say this, a lot more women are going to come out eventually and have to tell their story and say, I lied, because their conscience is going to eat them up. Now, I'm not saying that every woman lies. I'm not saying that, because I would definitely not say something like that. But what I am going to say is that a lot of women these days that have made these accusations about Black men are coming out now and saying that they lied. And now they're apologizing for it after they have messed up that man's life, his livelihood. Some men are incarcerated right now. Some have served jail time, and their whole life has been ruined because of lies that some of these women have told and are telling now. Welcome to the chat. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, and I'm not sure if that's your real name, but welcome to the chat. But I'm just trying, I'm just saying that it's not right for anybody or anyone to lie on someone else, because you can ruin somebody's livelihood. And I want to say that I do believe that women should be held accountable. Those women that lie, that purge themselves and then come back and say they lied, they should be held accountable. There should be some type of prosecution where they face legal proceedings for their lies. Because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you are going to lie on someone and make up a lie and come back later and say you lied, that's perjury. And you should be held accountable for that. It's the same thing that if a man violates a woman, he should be held accountable. But if a woman lies on a man and he didn't do anything illegal or grievous, he didn't do anything harmful to you, then, and you lie about it, then you should be held accountable just as well when it comes to women. And we see a lot of these women are coming out now saying, I lied, I'm sorry. But it's sorry if you defame someone's character, you slander their name, and they are harmed by it in some kind of way, then you should be held accountable for your actions. Legally, you should be held accountable. There should be some type of prosecution for you, for your lies. And for these women that believe that we are biased, we're not biased. We're seeing the truth come out. We're seeing these lies. And if we've experienced somebody lying on a family member of ours, that's not being biased. That's just telling our story. That's just being truthful. Because for me, I have no reason to come out and lie and say that a female lied on my brother or my son. I don't have no reason to make up nothing. That's a waste of energy. It's negative. And the God I serve will hold me accountable for my lack of integrity if I did that, because I operate on integrity, I operate on love, I operate in peace, and I operate in being a fair and just person, such as God. So I don't have a reason to make up any stories about women that have lied, whether it's on my brothers or my son or any family member. I don't have no reason to make up any stories like that. And I'm using this as an example. I would not have any reason to do that. So all I'm saying is that for the women that want to say that women that say that we're biased because we don't believe all women, no, I'm not going to believe all women. I have sense enough to know better that women lie, men lie, women lie. But there's been a lot of women that have lied on men, and now they're coming out recanting their story, and they're apologizing for the pain that they've caused and the harm they've caused. But are they willing to face jail time? Are they willing to face prosecution or persecution? Are they willing to go through the legal proceedings now that they're saying that they lied? See, it just can't be that you're sorry. You should be held accountable for your actions. And I truly believe that, because there's been a lot of men's lives that have been ruined because of lies, have been ruined because of lies. And so I do believe that women should be held accountable for their actions. I do believe that there should be some type of, punishment for these women that have lied. And if you are a woman that's lied because you're scorned, you should get counseling. If you are a woman that lied because you feel like this man owe you something, well, if you weren't married to this man and you were just in a relationship and it didn't work out, and you're just heartbroken or hurt by it, and now you're telling these untruths, God has a way of turning things around, and God has a way of exposing you, and God has a way of getting you to come out eventually and say you lied. See, let me tell you something. When you're digging holes for other people, just remember that the hole you dig is the same hole that you can fall into. When you're digging it for someone else, it's the same hole. And God has a way of turning it all around. And we see this today with the R. Kelly situation, where I believe, this is my opinion, that a lot of females have been untruthful in their statements that they have made with Mr. Robert Sylvester Kelly. And this is not about bashing. This is not about shaming. This is about none of that. It is about make it make sense and line up, because none of this is lining up. And no one should be prosecuted or persecuted in social media and believed through public media and social media and over a lifetime documentary. Nothing like that should have taken place. Kimberly Fox is wrong. She operates in unethical behaviors, and she's going to be held accountable also. It may not look like it now, but there's a lot of people that are going to be held accountable for their actions. See, prayer changes things, and we have to continue to pray. If we believe in fair and being just, we can continue to pray, continue to speak out, and continue to expose what's being said, what's being done. We need to continue to do those things. And so with this Pamela Long, or Pam Long, allegedly, but this article is from the Shade Room. And if you actually did say these things, and then you're admitting these in this article that I read, and now you're coming out. That's just another example. That female back, I don't recall her name, that lied on that young man in high school, and he had a promising football career, and she went on Facebook and reached out to him. Another one. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And there are so many other women that I'm sure you all can name that have lied on men, and they have come back and said that they were sorry. They were just making that up. and they just were scorned and they were hurt. And it seems that the public just buys into whatever a woman says. And it's this situation with the Nicki Minaj husband, husband, that she's speaking out. I don't know her. I'm not here to say yay or nay on it, but I don't get why now. Why come out now and tell your story when you could have told it a long time ago? And if you did, and if you did tell your story then, guess what? And why do we need to talk about it now? If this man served time in jail, I'm not exactly sure, but let's just say that, right, absolutely, absolutely. But let's just say that, he served time. I don't know, but I'm just saying that why now? Back then, and I'm going to keep it real with you all. Back then, they had court systems then. There was hospitals, clinics. You could go to the police back then, back in the 70s and 80s, the 60s. You could go back then and report domestic violence and abuse. And there are police reports, receipts to support that for some victims. So to say the least that they don't want to tell their story or they didn't feel like they should, with this A. Jaffe that was talking about, the prosecutor that was talking about the Bill Cosby thing. No, quit trying to justify or make excuses for these women. You cannot speak for these women why they didn't come out. They didn't come out because probably allegedly there was money involved. And so they were willing to accept money than go to the police and file police reports. If you were really harmed, you should have filed a police report. You should have went to the hospital, not sit here and take money and then years later come back and want to say that this is what happened to me. That's just very bad and it's crazy and it's not right. It's definitely not right. And so we can't sit here and say the reason why they didn't do X, Y, and Z. That's not necessarily true, because if someone did something to you, you have a right to go to the police. You have a right. And that's a choice that you choose to make within yourself if you choose not to go to the police. Because there are some women that were held hostage. And that man killed himself in jail. But they were held hostage. They couldn't go to the police because they were held hostage. But what about women that are not held hostage, that are free to come and go as they please? Then they have that access to go to the police. Call 911. So it just is not making sense. And right, Emmett Till, she was never arrested. And she's still living her life, I believe, to this day. She came out and said that she lied, but she's still living her life freely. And nothing's being done when it should be. And we do need to speak out about this. We need to make some noise that if women are going to come out and say that they lied and they purged themselves on the stand, they purged themselves in a police report in an interrogation room, or when they were writing up the report and taking their statement, guess what? They need to be held accountable for their actions. Some kind of way they need to be held accountable for all these lies, because I see it. And don't think that it can't happen to your son. And for all of these women that jumped on the Me Too movement bandwagon and Time's Up, for all of you women that were not there for the R. Kelly thing, and you weren't there for Bill Cosby, all of you women, all you're doing is you are following the multitude of evil, and you have raised a hand to a false report. Exodus 23. That's what you've done. And I'm keeping it real because I use it, and this is the truth. My channel is usually about biblical social issues from a biblical perspective. And so guess what? Exodus 23, it tells us that we are not to raise a hand to a false report, and we are really not to follow the multitude of evil. But some people are so caught up in their own way of thinking that they refuse to believe the truth. They refuse to accept the truth and evidence when it's put in front of them. They refuse to accept the truth. I know that it happens. It doesn't even have to be about sexual assault. It can be that someone lied on you, a coworker at work, and you present evidence, and you have some managers or supervisors or people in leadership that refuse to accept the truth. They refuse to accept the truth. Even though there's facts, there's documentation, there's receipts, they refuse to accept the truth. And I've been listening, I've been watching, reading, hearing other, bloggers and YouTubers talk about it. It's time for us women to stand up and say something and speak out. And I'm going to say this, I don't know Mr. Robert Kelly. I really don't. But what I've seen and heard, I don't believe he's guilty. I believe he's innocent, and I believe it's a setup. I do believe that. I believe he's been set up, and I believe it's money involved, and I believe there's people operating within the realm of that judicial corrupted system. I do believe that, and that's what's happening. And they're being used, and when they're no longer needed, they're going to be kicked to the curb. And I don't go back and forth with anyone, because I'm going to say this: for people that have came out and spoke out negative about women that believe Mr. Kelly is innocent, and the supporters of Mr. Kelly, and the ones that have spoke out and called us all types of names. I had someone call me a name on another platform that didn't have anything to do with YouTube or Facebook, and told me that I was this and I was that. And majority of these people do not know the definition of pedophile. And I can go right now and Google the definition of pedophile, and I'm going to do it right now. The definition of pedophile. People want to call people pedophiles. But look, it says a person who is sexually attracted to children. But not only that, it is children that are prepubescent. That means that they haven't went through puberty yet. That's what a pedophile is. So calling someone a pedophile that really has not messed with anyone that hasn't went through puberty, that would be a false statement. And so people need to really get their facts together and know what the definitions of these words are before they start just calling people names. Right. I believe that's going to happen too. Yeah. Them too. They're those two people. I don't entertain a lot of that stuff with them two women. They just are crazy over there. But people need to get their facts straight. And I don't understand how so many people could be so angry and evil and hateful in their heart, but they expect justice for themselves. They want their families to love them. They want other people to love them and to accept them and be fair and just to them. But yet and still, they have hate in their heart, and they have injustice. They're operating from an injustice perspective, but they have hate in their heart, but they want people to treat them better than how they've treated Mr. Kelly. Regardless of what he's being charged with, he's still a human being. And we can't forget that we're all humans. And God values us, and he loves us as human beings. And so to be treated less than human says a lot about these people. It says a lot about you as a person when you feel that a person should be treated less than human, when you feel that a person should be mistreated based on accusations. And an indictment doesn't mean a conviction. It doesn't mean that. And I believe that if you are innocent, don't give up. Stand strong, steadfast, unmovable. I believe that that's what should happen. Stand up. Because if you got stand up for righteousness, and if you have to die for righteousness, that's what you got to do. See, because I would not want to take a rap for something I didn't do. And I would never encourage someone else to take a rap for something they didn't do. Right. Right. We have to speak out. We can't be ashamed and afraid to tell the truth. But see, God is a fair and just God. And if God is a fair and just God, because he is, then we have to be fair and just. And we have to operate from a place of being fair and just ourselves. And it starts at the micro level within ourselves being fair and just. It starts at the micro level. See, because how can you be fair and just if you're not fair and just within yourself? If you're not operating from a fair and just perspective, then you can't be fair and just. But then you expect fair and justice to happen for you. You expect that for you, but you're not willing to extend that to others. We have a judicial system that's supposed to work. And we find that there's a lot of corruption that's going on in our judicial system. But our judicial system is supposed to work for us, not against us. But we find that it's not working according to the way God has established it. That's what we see. We see that today. And then we see people, some women that have accused Mr. Kelly, talking about they want to help women. And they get on these platforms and they're bashing Mr. Kelly, but yet still they say that they're about helping women, and empowering women. How can you empower a woman or women if you're negative? How can you help women heal if you're being negative? If you're bashing your alleged perpetrator, how can you help women heal? You cannot. Women that have been harmed for real victims that have been harmed, they don't want to relive your situation. They don't want to. They want to know how you can help them heal, how you can help them move to the next level, how you can help them get to the point of being a survivor and no longer a victim. But if all you're talking about on your platform is bashing your alleged perpetrator, you're doing nothing but being negative, and you're just impacting the situation, and you're not healing. And we see that a lot of that is just for you to keep getting money, to keep getting likes and clicks and support that you really don't deserve. And for someone that says, oh, well, they did this and they did that to me, guess what? Why would you even want to carry their last name? Why? If they did all those things to you. Well, I believe that a lot of this, they are being used. They're being used by the oppressor, and they don't even see it, that they're being used by the oppressor for money, for bags. But one thing that I want to ask the question, for all you women that have jumped on the bandwagon and supported the Me Too movement and have, helped to participate in the takedown of Mr. Robert Kelly, I wonder what will happen since now some of these women have gotten married. They know who they are. Tarana Burke, Jamil Hill, some of these women have gotten married. And I wonder if someone accused your husband. Would you say believe all women? So Tarana Burke, Jamil Hill, and the rest of you women, if someone accuses your husband of something, will you stand firm and say believe all women? So will we need to believe these women if they say that your husband sexually assaulted them? Are we to believe these women? So will you believe those women over your husband? See, that's a question that that's a valid question. Because remember, you promoted this believe all women narrative. So if something was to happen where your husband or fiance was accused, should we believe all women, and should you, not us, but should you believe all women? That means that you're going to have to believe that woman over your husband since you promoted that. That's right. Absolutely. These women, the same women that participated in the takedown of other Black men, and now they are with Black men, engaged or married to, absolutely. Talking negative, speaking negative, but now they're with Black men. So I wonder how that's working. And I wonder how, if that was to happen to their husbands and be accused, would they still stand up and say, believe all women? And so they would have to believe those women over their husbands, over their sons, or whoever. So I think that's a question that, that we can put back on them. Put back on them, since they're the ones that, promoted that believe all women stuff. But the whole thing is that I believe in fair and justice. I'm not saying what happened with Mr. Kelly or Bill Cosby. I'm not saying any of that because I wasn't there. I wasn't an eyewitness, nor was I an ear witness. And that's another thing we have to remember. If you was not an ear witness or an eyewitness, then guess what? How can you sit there and say this man did it over a documentary that didn't even make sense? It was one-sided. It was biased. I don't get that. I honestly don't get that. Unless I was an eyewitness or an ear witness to something, I can't say that happened or didn't happen. But what I can say, common sense tells us that it's a lot that's not adding up. And it's a lot that's not making sense, to the point that we supporters and people that believe in the presumption of innocence and due process are not just going to go along with anything, because we have to be more than surface level thinkers. We have to be able to think for ourselves, do our research, have discernment, and not just go along with anything that's said. Right. And that's another thing. I was going to get to that too, is that you're right. Where is her documentary at on her white male friend, Mr. Harvey Weinstein? Where? You're right. Because she was so busy interested in trying to take down the legacy of Michael Jackson. And she was hanging out with Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and it's like, should she be investigated? Should her background be looked into to see what she contributed or participated in? I mean, when we think about all this stuff, we really need to be able to ask some real questions about this stuff, about these behaviors and actions. But you're so quick to bring the Black man down. But again, it's about money. It's about money and fame and fortune and being used by the oppressor. That's what it's you're being used by the oppressor. And you don't see that they don't care about you. They care about they care about promoting their interest. That's what they care about. If it's going to promote the interest, then yeah. That's about it. Most of the time when things happen like that, they're looking to promote their interest. Okay. There's a lot of great Black women out here. And I will say that are dedicated, that are honest, that have integrity. They're jewels. They have integrity. But We have to speak out. And I believe that men need to help continue the fight and speak out, because black men are facing judicial corruption, and they're going to be facing, it could be them facing, legal proceedings. So it's important for black men and men in general, but black men especially, men in general, but black men especially, to fight, to vote locally, to speak out, to protest, do whatever you feel is necessary legally, smart and legal, that be smart about it, but legally, to get laws changed, to fight against injustice, because we as black women will stand with black men. And there is a separation. We see the separation. It has happened, the separation. We've seen the separation happen. And we've been talking about unity for a very long time, of coming together, being unified. And we need to come together in unity. And we see that a lot of that hasn't happened yet. But coming together in unity, being able to forgive, to come together, because we need to stand together, because you don't see in the white communities, no matter what goes on, you don't see the bashing and, oh, let me tell you what happened, the gossip. You don't see it like that. But with the black community, you do see a lot of that. People just looking for gossip. They're hungry for it. And they can't wait to get on the phone, or they can't wait. Thank you. Thank you. God bless. And they can't wait, to tell a story that they haven't investigated, to tell a story that they haven't looked into, to sit down and talk about what really transpired. And even we need to, as black women, we need to teach the younger women better decisions. You got to make better decisions. That statement, that part right there. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. A lot of them. A lot of them. But we need to be able to tell the story, but tell your truth, not tell your story, but tell the truth, because no one can tell your story. But when you tell your story, tell the truth. Don't lie. Take ownership of whatever choices that you made in the situation, or in the situationship, situationship. Tell the truth about it. Don't sit there and make up a story to look good. And we understand that negativity sells more than positivity. We understand that gossip and drama is more popular than a biblical channel or perspective, or, we understand all that, or even intelligent conversations, or intelligent subject matters. We understand that those things take a backseat to the drama, to the messiness. We understand that. But for me, I am not going to compromise my integrity to lie on someone, to make up something, and to play games just to get likes and clicks. I'm going to tell the truth, and I'm going to speak out. And I'm speaking out because really we need to stand up and speak out for for this, about these women making up stories and they're not being held accountable. They're lying. They're not being held accountable. And then they're coming back later and apologizing. And if men, start suing these women and bringing lawsuits against them for defamation of character, for slandering of name, if they're slandering their name, their legacy, maybe if the impact starts to affect them in a way, maybe they will wake up and they will stop it, and other women will think before they do it, because that's what's going on with a lot of these women are making up lies on men, and they're getting away with it, and the judicial system is allowing it. And that has to change. And so I can respect Judge Daugherty and Chief Justice Saylor on that panel on Tuesday, because guess what? They were able to ask some real questions as I watched it, and to challenge A. Jaffe, and she lost her emotional objectivity. She became upset, and like she was agitated that her integrity was being questioned, and it should be questioned, because it didn't make sense that she tried to make her argument, that argument about what, 10 to 40 year span, superior. You cannot make that a superior, you cannot put that in a superior position in your argument. It was so long ago. And we see it today. We see it today that a lot of this is going on. But however, we have to speak out, and we have to start speaking out about this nonsense and this foolishness and these untruth statements and lies, lies, lies that are being told on Black men. We have to speak out about it. And it could be any man, but I'm just right now speaking pretty much mainly about Black men, but all men, because I'm sure, there's a lot of men out here that are not just Black, that have been lied on. But I'm just speaking right now on mainly, majority of Black men that I see. And because I'm Black and I have Black males in my family, and so I know what women are capable of. But also, I think that if you have been a victim and now you are a survivor, there is a process. And I believe that if it's like, I look at it like this, maybe people won't understand, but being a victim and now a survivor, I look at it like this. If I wanted justice, and I expect justice, then I'm very well not going to lie on someone else just because it happened to me. And I'm not going to say all men are guilty. I can't do that. Because if I expect justice, and I expected justice in my situation, then I certainly have to be fair and just in someone else's situation. If I'm making sense, if people caught what I just said. But see, most women that are real victims, they want justice, right? So why would you lie on someone else and don't think they deserve justice? Because I believe a real victim would expect justice for all. Justice. And fair and just. So I won't hold you up any longer, but I appreciate if you came to watch my video. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're not a subscriber. I do appreciate, and share this video, because we do need to speak out about the injustice that's going on in our judicial system. But we also should be concerned about our family members that are males, and also just speaking out, praying that the African American Black men will get on board to start to make sure you protect yourselves and get in the fight. Step up and get in the fight, because could be about you. It's about you. You could be the next person facing legal proceedings in a corrupt judicial system. And so it's important to stand up and stand out and to speak up. Stand up and be counted. Stand up and make it known that you're not going to tolerate the injustice any longer. You're not going to tolerate, the judicial corruption that's going on. We have to speak out and find ways to curb this judicial corruption, because the people that work in the judicial system, these judges and commissioners, they took an oath to be unbiased, to be fair and just. And we're seeing that a lot of them are not operating with integrity. A lot of them are just not operating correctly. They're wrong, and it's not right. And so we have to stand up for what is right and do what is right. And we got to work together and unify and work together. And I pray for families that have suffered at the hands. Hey, how you doing? And I pray for families that have suffered at the hands of this judicial system. I pray for families and the victims that have been falsely accused. I pray for them because I know what it's like to be falsely accused, and so I pray for them, and I pray that God will hold you up and cover you and protect you from all harm and danger. Exactly, Casey. And so we're just not standing for it no more. It's hard to wake up each day to face another day and hear another story about a lie being told, or another thorn in Mr. Kelly's side, or Bill Cosby's side, or anybody that's facing, judicial corruption and mistreatment and inhumane situations. It's hard. And so I believe that we do have to make a difference, and we as women do have to speak up. And so we're speaking up, and we're saying enough is enough, and we're not going to allow this to be silent. We have to speak up and make it known. Because again, just because you've been in a bad relationship doesn't mean that you were harmed in any kind of way, except for a normal process of a relationship not working out. A lot of us have been in relationships that didn't work, and we had our feelings hurt. We were disappointed. We even had a broken heart at one point. But that doesn't mean we should lie on our ex or former boyfriend or former lover, as some people say, or former partner, or ex, however, whatever you use that term, to come out and lie because you feel like you didn't get what you wanted, or you were scorned, and you got this entitled attitude. And I always say that, people do what they want to do, but I always say that people, they operate from a girlfriend status, but they want husband benefits, or they want husband benefits on a boyfriend status. See, this is the thing. You put yourself in a situation, and then you expect marital benefits, and then you get angry when you don't get what you want. And so I think that it's important that women and men make better decisions. Yes, they are. They are being treated very unfairly. So I think it's important. Make better decisions. And guard your hearts and protect yourself. And so I came on because, it all started with that story with Pam. If you're just joining, But it all started with this story about Pam Long now coming out, and this was on the Shade Room. Right, it's so in front of us, and this was on the Shade Room with her now saying that she lied on her ex-husband Jamie Long, who is now married to Centoya Brown Long. So she's coming out now saying that she, from the Shade Room, that she lied, and I'll post it in the comments, about the article. And so I wanted to come on and talk about that. We are not biased when it comes to what's going on with Mr. Kelly, Bill Cosby. We're not biased. And look at what Emmett Till, and if you go all the way back, this has been going on for years and decades and years of women lying on men and getting away with it with no punishment, without any punitive, consequences. And so I wanted to come on and speak about that, to expose another woman, and this is a Black woman, and this is not to bash Black women because I'm Black myself, but why are Black women allowing themselves to be used by the multitude of evil to lie on Black men? That's a question. Why is that happening? And they don't know. And I say, if you wasn't an eyewitness or an ear witness, how can you just automatically assume that these men did something because the media is portraying or pushing this narrative? I can't go along with that. And if I got to stand alone, I stand alone, but I refuse to go along with it because I'm not a follower. I've never been all my life. Even as a child, I was always my own way. When it came down to my way of thinking, I just can't believe anything. I just don't go along with anything. And the things that I've heard and seen does not convince me that Mr. Kelly is guilty of holding people hostage, not feeding them, no access to cell phones. No, a lot of that just is just not something that I believe. I mean, I don't. And so no, show me something different. Because other than that, I'm standing up for justice and what is right. And we have to stand up for that. And if we are children of God and we love the Lord and we believe in the biblical statutes and principles and all of that, then we have to be, we definitely will believe in the presumption of innocence and due process, until proven guilty. And that's what we would believe in. And so someone asked, well, I have a daughter. People say, well, I have a daughter. And they ask, well, how would you feel if it was your daughter? Well, first of all, I'm going to say it like this. I'm confident in how I raised my son. And I would be confident in how I raised my daughter. Because like I said, most women as parents know their children, especially girls. And so if you are doing the best you can to raise your children, if you have daughters that are conservative, that are loose or guarded or shy or timid, those things about your children. Most parents do. And if you're in your children's life and you're participating in things that your children are doing, school, all that kind of stuff, then guess what? Yeah, but we need to pray for her. Just pray for her. Don't let it steal your joy. Just pray for her. That's what I say. I mean, I see a lot of stuff that go on, and I just pray. I pray and I see it and I just go, why entertain that? God's going to hold her accountable. I believe that God's going to hold her accountable. People their conscience is going to kill them. It's going to eat them up. They're not happy. They're miserable. And if they really believe, but let me go back quickly to what I was saying. With that being said, with daughters, you have to sit down and talk to your children. You really do, and get all sides. Even if it's a young female, even if it's a daughter, you still have to talk to this young woman and the young man and get both sides of the story to what went on. And get law enforcement involved if necessary when it comes down to that. But just because you have a daughter doesn't mean that we should believe all women just because we have a daughter or we have a son. No, we need to get to the truth of the matter. We need to get to the bottom of it, because we know that children are not perfect either. And we know that children can make up stories too, whether they females or males, they can make up stories. Men are not always the aggressive in situations. And I'm going to tell you why men are not always the aggressive in situations, because I know for a fact that when my son was growing up, he shared a story with me about a young girl. She was 12 years old. He was 12. And she was harassing him and trying to, she was basically sexually harassing him and trying to get him in a relationship based on things, I believe, that were going on in her parents' home, because they were acting out. So she was seeing this stuff. So she was coming to summer camp, and trying to get my son involved. And my son told her, because he shared it with me, and he was very upset. And this went on for several weeks, that I had to get this resolved, that this young lady, this young girl, trying to kiss my son, wanting to go on dates. And my son said, no, that's what grown people do. And I'm too young for that. And I'm not ready for that. See, this is what I'm talking about, how we raise our children, and we know, and we instill Christ in them. And I took my son to church. We went to church. He learned about Christ, not just at home, but at church, Sunday school, Bible study, retreats, all types of stuff. This is what this is it. And so I knew my child. And then when I was involved in his life and in school and stuff. So when I found out he did stuff, I called him out on that stuff. And I held my son accountable. So all I'm saying is that we can't just sit here and say, because I have a daughter, I'm going to believe all women. No. Or I have a son, so I'm going to believe all men. We need to get to the bottom of it and sit the two individuals down and find out what's going on and get to the bottom, get to the truth, not just say, well, I believe that's what he did to her. Or, we can't do it. Because if you do that, then you're biased. And we can't be biased. Yes, it is. Sunday school is very, very important. But getting back to that right there with her, this is what I was going to say. A lot of times when people are doing all of that, they really don't, they have unbelief in their own life. They have unbelief. They don't believe that God's going to take care of them. They don't believe God's going to work it out for them. And so they have to use somebody else to bring down for their monetary gain. Now, if she believed that God was going to take care of her, then she wouldn't be using, Mr. Kelly for monetary gain in bashing and carrying his name. She don't believe it. It's unbelief. Yeah, it's right. Yep. And forget about the children. We get so busy in our careers and worried about bringing home a paycheck that, and we really can't do that. But it's unbelief. A lot of times it's unbelief. People have unbelief and they walk around in unbelief. And that's why they get caught up in things and start and stuff. We have to believe that God's going to take care of us no matter what. And we do. We have to believe that. There is not, like when you go through a divorce, instead of bashing your ex, believe that God's going to heal you. He's going to take care of you. He's going to provide for you, that you and your children, if you have children from that union, are not going to miss a meal. You have to believe those things. And if you don't believe it, then you're going to believe in the street. You're going to believe in trying to get a bag. You're going to believe in money. You're going to believe in stuff. And that's what happens. A lot of times people believe in stuff that has nothing to do with Christ. Right. And you know what? Bashing her children is so wrong. Bashing her ex is so wrong, because if you're bashing your ex, you're basically bashing your children too. And then you're contradicting yourself by saying that your children were made out of love, but yet and still you're showing hate towards their father. That doesn't add up. That doesn't line up. And God doesn't call us to behave like that. He definitely does not call us to behave like that. It's one thing if a man doesn't provide for his children once they separate or divorce, But it's another thing when the wife starts bashing the man and interfering in the livelihood of taking care of those children. Then that's where um, God's going to hold the woman accountable as well. And we all understand that um, Brian P. McKee does not carry a brand that she can capitalize off of. And that's more than likely why she did not change her last name. And she probably didn't really believe what she was doing something, but she didn't believe it wholeheartedly because she probably wanted to wait to see what would happen and see if she can capitalize. It didn't pan out for her. And then he was apparently cheating, on her. And so she kept her last name, and she can say that she, kept the name because she earned it through blood, sweat, and tears. But you know what? That's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense. It sounds like that's what she wanted. You almost sounds like a slave, and really, come on now. So if you didn't want to get married, you shouldn't have got married, and that's just simple as that. If you wanted to pursue your career, you should have made it very clear that you didn't want to be married because you have a dream and you want to pursue your career. And because anytime you're going to get married, and if you're in a situation where children, you're still in your youth where you can have children, bring children into the union, possibility of that, you have to talk about those things prior to the marriage. That should have been talked about so that you could come to a consensus. And if you're not able to do that, then really she shouldn't have never gotten married. I mean, so, with that being said, I pray for her and pray for her peace and her healing, and that God will heal her stony heart into a softer heart, because that's not right to be bashing, um, you know, her ex. Exactly, And my mother, we went to church too, and my grandmother, we couldn't even, we went to her house, we was going to church. We went to her house, piano lessons, church. That's how it was. And most of my aunts, relatives, you went to their house, you were going to church. So with that being said, we just have to speak out and speak out about the injustice that continues to go on in our judicial system. We have to speak out about um, these women that just keep telling untruth stories. And then my whole pretty much point of this is showing another Black woman is now coming out saying that she lied on her ex and she's sorry, and now she's issuing an apology according to the Shade Room. That's my whole point. That's true. And the thing is about that, she could have actually made better decisions in her marriage that would have helped them grow. um, you know, Virtuous woman, Proverbs 31. But she could have done that. But again, people make decisions for whatever reasons. And if you have ulterior motives and they're not aligned with court, not aligned with the biblical statutes, and if you're not praying, together as a husband and wife, unequally yoked, then there was a reasons why marriages fail too, and they could have been unequally yoked. I mean, um, definitely could have been unequally yoked, because if she really wanted to pursue her dance career, whatnot, choreography, whatever, and he wanted to pursue music, then guess what? And it didn't work out because they were unequally yoked. Because it seems to me Mr. Kelly was looking for, once they got married and started to bear children, bore children from that union, he was looking for a wife to be at home, a wife to take care of his children, a mother and a wife. And so therefore it sounds that they were unequally yoked. And a lot of times that's what happens. Even though her grandfather was a pastor, she knows, but you know what? That's not always how they operate, though. I mean, we see a lot of children that have parents, a father or mother as a pastor or minister, and some of them children, look at TD Jake's daughter. She was lost in the pews, found in the street. She wrote a book about it. How she wind up having a baby when she was a teenager, and her sister is the one that exposed it and told on her, you know, because she was lost in the pews, found in the world, found out there in the street, found in the world. And that's, I think the book is Lost in the Pews, Found in the World. So that does happen. I mean, that does happen where, you know, you have pastors that are fathers, and their children, you know, can be, they say, the worst children, you know, because they're children. So, and I think it stands out more when your parents are, you know, in ministry. It stands out more. But are children, are they any different from any other children? Not really, but sometimes I think they probably think they can get away with it because of who their parents are, versus children that know that they will be held accountable even more, you know, to a higher standard. Yeah, because she was reading reading her Bible, and he saw something in her. Yeah, and so I believe that he, I'm not knowing him, but a possibility that he thought that she would be the type of woman that would be able to be a good mother and wife for him. And it didn't work out that way because she wanted to pursue her dreams. And I believe that her saying that um, he didn't have a right to stop her from pursuing her dreams. And she's, I think, putting the narrative out there as if um, he held her hostage, but I don't believe that's the case. Because if you are a wife, again, and you have children, it's important for you to sit down and talk about how you're going to raise those children, who's going to work, who's going to, or who's going to stay home, or can I work part time, you know, that kind of thing. So I think that with that being said, she, you know, they just maybe couldn't come to a consensus on that. And because she was a gun ho on pursuing her, you know, her career or her love for dancing or whatnot. So, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to be really upfront. And sometimes we as women, because we are the helpmeet, you know, in the marriage, because it says, you know, when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. And so I believe he thought he was finding a good thing at the time that, you know, he proposed or married her or whatnot. So I think that as women, we have to, right, exactly, exactly. And I think as women, we have to, you know, decide, okay, I have this child, and you know, my husband wants me to, and this is like a scenario, my husband wants me to stay home and raise the child. I don't want to see, you know, other people raising my child. Then as a woman, you know, we are, the man is the head. And I know a lot of women will argue probably with that today, and you know, and challenge that. But the man is considered the head if you're operating from a biblical perspective and you believe in the Bible and stuff like that, then the man is the head. And so it's normal and it's common and traditionally and according to biblical standards for the wife. um mm, oh, she said that. Wow. It's common for a wife to stay home and raise the children instead of you know. And so she didn't, she lacked obviously obedience, I would say, to you know, to what the word of God says. I won't say obedient to her husband, but to the word of God, but being submissive. Because the Bible does call that First Corinthians chapter 7 about, you know, marriage. And I think a lot of people don't understand, you know, the biblical concept of the marriage. Oh, okay. Wow. I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to listen to that. Thank you for enlightening me on that because I did not know that. I'm gonna have to listen to that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to listen to that album. Um, but I think, you know, that a lot of people don't understand, you know, the biblical concepts of marriage, and so and then people marry for the wrong reasons too. So when that happens, you will have broken marriages and divorces and broken relationships. You know. I did not know that though. I'm definitely gonna have to listen, pull that up and listen to it. I have some of his CDs, and it's interesting because I really never really listened to a lot of his music. I only knew about I think three of his songs. Um, and I happened to come across a gospel song. He saved me. I think that's he saved me. He saved that. I think that was the song. And then I got to listening to his music and looking into it more. Um, and I was like, wow, this man really is a genius. That was like what, almost 2 years ago. But he has some beautiful music out there. He does. Um, but it's not even about the music, it's about him being a person. You know what? That's true. And she tried to make it seem like she was being held a prisoner. I think that I think that they're trying to paint a different picture, you know, and they're trying to act like this man was not a public figure, that he was not a superstar. They're trying to act like, that he didn't have a right to protect his family and his children. And she's buying right into that. Casey, she's buying right into that. Well, he held me hostage and I have a right, and he don't get to tell me that I can't pursue my dreams, but he can. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like you're going up against um that it don't it sounds like she was competing with her husband. That's what that sounds like. It sounds like she was competing with him. Because when you talk like that, it's like you're competing with somebody. And why would you need to compete with your spouse? If your spouse loves you and he wants the best for you, you're supposed to want the best for each other in a marriage. And really, if you're putting Christ first, because it's Christ first, then the husband. Okay, so you as the wife is Christ first, and then your husband, and then your children. And then if you're the husband, is Christ first, then your wife, and then the children, if you have children. So the hierarchy. So it just sounds like to me that she was competing with him, especially if she's making, this comment she made on one interview I saw, that he doesn't get the right to tell her that she can't pursue her dreams. So why would you argue to that? Why would you present yourself like that when you were married? you know and I believe he loved her. I do believe he loved her. He was very hurt on the Gayle King show, because he said he couldn't believe that his wife was doing that. He couldn't believe his wife was doing that, his ex-wife. So I believe he did love her. And I don't believe he wanted her to be out in the limelight. And then she didn't probably understand the dynamics of his career, because the thing is, just like with Brian McKnight, Brian McKnight, he has some decent music out there. And, you know, when it comes to your audience, your fan base, you are a sex symbol. And so, you portray a certain type of, you know, a certain type of, I can't think of the word, about yourself. And so she said no one knew about her. But she knew no one knew about her. She knew why. I think she did know why. She just didn't understand the dynamics of and her responsibilities. And now that she's out there and she's no longer married, she wants to come out and paint all these different narratives and talk about all this different stuff, about he held her hostage, and she was a secret, but she knew she's not, I mean, I haven't seen what, I don't know if she went to a university or not. I haven't seen any secondary educations. Right. I haven't seen any secondary educations with her, not even on her Wikipedia or Google. I haven't seen that she went to any university or junior college or whatnot, any of that. She may just be, come on, she's what, 40 some years old. So she should have some type of knowledge. But then again, you have people in your ear. And if she has people in her ear, you know what I mean? So, you know, she can come out, and then people probably are telling her what to say too. And so she's putting all that together and talking. And a lot of the stuff that she said doesn't make sense. It's foolishness. And she is fake. She's not for real. She's fake because she knows how to act a certain way in front of certain people. But at the end of the day, she's very vulgar. She's ghetto fabulous. She really acts ghetto. I mean, just so ridiculous. It's like, it's terrible, how she comes out and and start, and even on some of her interviews, boo boo and girl, I was like, is that how you talk? That's really terrible. But again, just praying for Mr. Kelly, praying for his family, praying for um, his children, Joanne, Robert, Jaya, just praying, because they've suffered some hardships, but their mother does not, she doesn't help in the situation by bashing their father. So she has a college education in the arts. What college did she graduate from? Do you know? Because I didn't see that on her Wikipedia page or anything like that. When you pull her up, I didn't see that. So, um, you know, but she doesn't have an education in domestic violence and any of that. So she needs to stop with all that, because she's definitely not helping women. I definitely don't see her helping women. You know, the way that I don't see that. She needs to get certified to be really to help. If she really wants to help women, she will, because one of the things about the profession, yes, she is. But one of the things about that profession of helping people, a human service professional, is being certified, and she's not. So I don't even entertain that nonsense. She just needs to stop, because it's really that part right there. That part there is like, stop it, because you're not helping women by bashing and keep talking about, what you say that this man allegedly did to you. You're not helping women like that. So I don't, spoke out, and I don't want to stay on with her and give her any more attention like that. But really, just the focus is praying for R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, our families, our sons, our nephews, our uncles, our brothers, spouses. If you have a spouse, those are the things. Praying, for our elected officials going in, coming out, our government, this pandemic. We have so much that we can be praying for, and keep our prayer requests before the Lord, that He will heal the land, and that people will turn away from their wicked ways. They will repent. And those are the things that we do. Yeah, she did, didn't she? And even in that vehicle she was riding in, she talked about him then. And she talked freely about him. And she was in the car. Was she in that car with McKee? And she was talking freely about Mr. Kelly. She was talking freely about him. Yeah. And I was like, wow, she sure is talking freely about another man, her ex. She was freely talking. And how that no one can talk about him, but she can, because he family. She was saying all that stuff, and yeah, um, just very ratchet. She was talking like that, very ratchet. It's just, yeah, it's a show. It's a show, and entertainment. Yeah, and entertainment, show and entertainment, and God is not pleased with that. And we know God isn't pleased with that. God calls us to love one another, to be forgiven, but He calls us to love one another. Treat people as you want to be treated, you know. And if you, wow, wow, that, where did when she showed that she was selling or had that leaf, and she put it up to her face, all of that, it's like, wow. And that was right after what? She got the back child support or something, when she did that. That's crazy. That's real crazy. Yeah, it's really crazy. Who wants to entertain all of that? I mean, it's really sad. You know, it's just real sad. I was talking to my mom. We talk a lot, and my mom was saying eventually these women that have lied, yeah, she dragged them, and that these women have lied, they're going to eventually come forward. They have to. They have to come forward, because their conscience is going to definitely eat them up, and they're going to have to come forward. Um, you know, come forward, because their conscience is going to eat them up with all the lies that they have told. Just so sad. Ridiculous. It's unfortunate. I couldn't live with myself lying because I would believe sooner or later I would be exposed. You know what I mean? So for me, I just couldn't live with lying on other people. That's one of the things that I don't like is when people lie on other people. I've been lied on before and it's no fun, but when you have receipts and you have documentation that you are being truthful and they are lying, that's why it's always good to have documentation. Because when I was at working like that, and I in supervision and management, you have staff that will just make up stuff and you know that they're not being truthful. And you have to remain objective, and you can't get really uptight and upset, even though sometimes it takes you there because we're all human, you know, we're human, we're not excluded from getting upset. We're not excluded from being disappointed and hurt, and so you know that's just one of my things. I don't like I don't like that when people lie, and I don't lie on others, don't lie on me, and don't lie on people. Man, tell the truth. What part did, and I used to always ask my staff, well, what part did you play? Because none of us are perfect. What part did you play, and what could you have done differently? I always have to take it back. Point the finger inward. Take it back. Because a lot of times people want to point, but what about what part did you play? What could you have done differently? And not to say that to place blame, but we all have to look at what part did we play in the situationship, the relationship, or in the issue. What part did we play and what could we have done better? And that's true. I don't think there's any perfect marriage. I mean, um, you know, um, there's going to be disagreements, there's going to be trials and tribulations. Um, because we're human, we're men, we're women. Um, so they're going to be the storms of life. It's a matter of being able to come to a consensus, an agreement, or work things out, a resolution. And if you're not able to do that, and it leads to, a broken relationship, separation, divorce, because you are not able to work that out, and hopefully some people can leave on cordial terms, but or mutual terms. But there are women that are angry that it didn't work out, and they say they're not angry. um that's right, and that's the thing about a praying wife. The power of a praying wife. Stormy O'Martian, wrote a book, and I remember years ago I bought that book. um you know I had bought that book, to read that book, and that helped me through a lot of times for me, because I think that book is mainly for us. But also, you know, um, when you're unequally yoked, it can be difficult being unequally yoked, in a relationship, being unequally yoked. But we do, as women, we have to pray. As men should pray too. We ought to pray, pray without ceasing. And and I think that if we go in prayer first before we try to confront or tackle something, and we go to God in prayer first, he helps guide us. The Bible tells us how to live our life. It's a tool on how to live our life. A lot of social issues, the Bible gives us guidance. That's why, I talk about, social issues from a biblical perspective, because a lot of our social issues, we can find solutions right there, going to God and the Bible. It's right there. I mean, the lying, making up stuff, adultery, all this stuff, if you talk, it's in the Bible. It talks about it, and so, it's good to be able to well, with that, I would say pray about it. Don't make it a focal point in your relationship. Um, you know, because I know sometimes men probably will get tired of us talking about it, but then I think we also have to let them know that, You are remind them, I know you don't forget that you are a black man, but it could be you. And so my fight isn't about R. Kelly himself, but the fight is about the injustice of what we see going on with him. And I think if we can bring it to a perspective like that, it may be better received if if you come with a perspective, like that. Because it's not about the R. Kelly mess, I don't think. I believe it's about the injustice and how anyone could be facing injustice, especially black men. And we see a lot of that going on right now. So I think it's important to be able to bring it in a perspective where, hey, this is about the injustice. And I stand on what I believe in my heart about injustice. And I don't want to see not just him, because see, we don't want to see, we don't, I think it's about, oh, well, it's R. Kelly. No, R. Kelly is a person. If we take away, oh yeah, but if we take away um, R. Kelly and look at him as a person, then it's about the injustice of another human being. And that's how I see it. The injustice of another human being. You know what I mean? And you know what? I see what he's saying there, where a lot of the bloggers were excuse me, they were doing so much, it can turn off a lot of people. It can turn off a lot of people. And I think it's important that, all this, like, this emphasis on cash apps and asking for money and donations and campaigning and all of that I don't know, you know what I mean? Um, I think that became such a big turnoff for a lot of people, and it shouldn't have never been to that extent, but it became a big turnoff for a lot of people. And constantly asking for cash apps and money and donations and all of that stuff, and it's like we have to be accountable. And if we talk about Christ, we should our life should line up, our words and our life should line up, and is one thing to, I would say, is one thing to not work, but um, and you want to have a channel that, that's your job. But most people that start out with businesses, getting a business, they usually have another job to back up paying their bills and supporting themselves until their business actually take off and become to where that can be there, so that they can live off of that income. So I think, you know, for me, you know, um, I make jewelry, but that's not something that I could live off of because I don't push it because I'm in school and that take up most of my time. So if I get to a place where I can push that, then I really want to get my jewelry out there mainstream. But right now I just sell locally. And if someone wants something that I make out, they can pay me through PayPal and I can get their piece out there to them, or they can do it through Walmart. My last sale that I made, it was a big sale. I was blessed for the last collection that I did. And, so um, that's a passion of mine, is to make jewelry. I just don't push it, but I do sell jewelry. If people want to buy pieces from me, I have pieces, but I just don't push it because I have school right now and I don't have a website. Maybe one day I will, maybe one day I won't. I don't know about that yet. So, but anyway, I love doing it and I hope to make more sales. I hope people become more interested. But, school takes up a lot of my time. I'll be glad at the end. See, I get 2 weeks off finally, and I'll be so glad to just take a break because today I was so sleepy I couldn't even see straight because we got so much classwork going on, and I was like, oh my God, I got to go to bed, and that's why I'm up late now because I took a nap in the afternoon. I had to. I was like, gosh. So anyway, I'm gonna get off and get off. I've been on for an hour and 29 minutes and 24 seconds, and it's counting. So um, okay. Thank you so much. And you know what? I love your channel too. I think we complement each other. I love your channel too. And I go over and I watch it. I'm like, I love what you, yeah, it's just, you know what? It's a breath of fresh air to have other YouTubers that believe in Christ because I felt alone when I first came on. I felt alone. I did a lot of videos where I didn't even have an audience and I just did the video when I went live, but I just said, God called me to do it and I'm gonna keep doing it. So I do appreciate your support and everything and your well wishes and inspiration. And I watch your channel because I appreciate the fact that you love the Lord also. And have a good night and thank you for tuning in. And anyone else that's tuned in that didn't join the chat, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you. God bless you. And this, I hope you have a fabulous night and a good weekend. And I hope to come back on. And if I don't, I'll see you soon though. God bless you all. Good night.